What is up, everybody? It's the Tomato Cans Podcast, week 4, 5?
Something. I don't even know anymore, man. I
You're-
don't even know anymore.
You're here with B Nasty, and as always,
I guess I'm going to go by Spermham, huh?
Sperm this week, huh?
Yeah,
All
I guess
right.
I'll be Sperm this week. Why not? Fuck it.
Sweet.
So what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Just trying to keep busy, Getting tired of this coronavirus shit, man.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. This is, what week is this of the quarantine? Or
6, 7,
yeah,
8,
something like
some
that.
shit like
I
that.
don't know, getting crazy as far as time goes. More time spent, you start seeing, people are getting restless.
Yeah, man, and I'm part of that.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I've been getting slowly but surely more to a point of restlessness, ready to get the fuck out of the house a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just shows how gullible people are, I think, man. Like, I'm tired of sitting around living in fear,
Right.
Who was it? Tim Pool? Was it Pool or somebody on the Rogan show? You made a good point, man. Is that if you shut everything down, all the business is closed, what the hell are you living for anymore, man?
Yeah, ain't that the truth? It's tough right now, though. You hear everybody wants a haircut, right? So, that's the big thing. It seems to me, anyways. Whoops, getting a little crazy over here. My bad. But it seems to me that's like kind of what started everything more so than anything else, right? Was that I want a haircut movement.
Oh,
And I say that, kind of lumping it all together. But I mean, it is true though. It's time we're gonna eventually have to figure out a way to get through all this shit with still living our lives. You know what I mean? So
well, here's the thing. Here's my take on it, right? Everybody should get tested. And and this isn't going to apply to everybody because we have those assholes out there, but everybody should get tested, know where you stand, right? If you're currently going through, then sit it out, man. You're the ones who need to stay home.
right.
If you've had it and gotten over it, then you're in the clear, right? Or if you haven't had it at all, then you can decide whether you want to risk it or not.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I mean, that's how I feel, especially because I haven't had it as far as I know. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm kind of in that boat, as you're saying.
I'm kind of 50-50, man. I think I had a couple days there where I didn't feel quite right, but I think that I'm in that age range where I probably not feel anything. I'm asymptomatic.
So yeah, I was like listening or hearing a few stats being thrown out there. They say like it's pretty much a 98% survival rate,
Right.
and that's a big number. I mean, that really makes it think like 98% chance of survival. I'd take those risks if I was going to Vegas.
Well, even with that, right? Of the 10% that's dying. So I heard like somewhere in the 90 percentile range are the people who are living in assisted living homes, long-term living.
Mm-hmm.
So there are already people with a lot of underlying conditions that if Corona didn't come around, they'd be impacted by something else.
Yeah. And that's just to touch on that too. It seems to me that the biggest cases or the worst cases are these nursing homes or
Right.
retirement centers, places where there's large groups of senior citizens or people that are in an older compromised age range as opposed to our age.
Right. And I'm not insensitive to that. You know what I mean? Protect the people that want to be protected.
Maybe.
But if we shut down everything and if everything closes down and everybody is hunkering in, living in fear, what the hell kind of life are you living? What are you surviving for?
Yeah, you're not living.
Right.
You're
Go
not living at
out,
all.
live your life, do the things that you want to do, get tested, and be responsible about it.
Yeah,
100%.
man.
I think that's the way to go, man.
Yeah, we just have like, I think too much emphasis on overprotecting everything.
Yeah,
at this point.
Every life matters, right?
Yeah. Well, they did, and then they didn't, and then now I don't fucking know anymore. Isn't it funny that since all this stuff has started happening, like the Black Lives Matter movements, All Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, Every Lives Matter, whatever, Any Lives Matter,
right?
And I'm not trying to like look down on any of those groups, but really, you see something like this, kind of all that shit's a little ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it gets to a point of do we really need to keep that, I guess, in everybody's face? Or
Right.
keep
You
that
don't have to
relevant, you know?
proclaim it, you know?
Yeah, and that's how I feel. Of course, what I can be told, or I can say, well, I've got white privilege and all that other shit. And I'm not saying it's not real, but at the same time, I don't focus my day to day. When I wake up, I don't say, thank God I'm white,
Right.
and
Right.
I don't wake up expecting to go out like I'm going to use my whiteness to get through the day,
I'm white. Whose life can I mess up today?
Yeah, exactly. How can I ruin other people's lives while maximizing my profitability of life? I don't have that thought. So.
Yeah, that's always been my take on life, man. Like, just be a good person. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
not going to live in fear. Growing up, I have experienced racism to some degree. I mean, it wasn't, none of my family had been lynched or anything, but
Right. Well, you grew up, mostly in California?
I grew up all over the place, man.
Okay. So yeah, let's get into that a little bit. So where were you born?
So I was born in Montana
Oh shit.
and didn't live there for very long.
You can't get much whiter than that.
I hardly remember anything about it.
Yeah.
And then from there we moved to Southern California.
Okay.
And I did do a lot of my growing up in my youth
Yeah.
there. So lived in OC all the way till 11, 12, something like that.
Okay.
Moved up to Michigan. That's a white ass state too, man.
Yeah.
One of the parts that we were in. And it's not like privileged white, right? It was like middle class, lower middle class whites. So I got a taste of both sides there. Because growing up in California, where we lived, it's like the second motherland to the Vietnamese.
Yeah. Right.
The town is Garden Grove, but it's actually known as Little Saigon. So, and there's actually signs on the freeway, exit here for Little Saigon.
Really?
Hmm. So there was a lot of Asians. I didn't feel out of place growing up, as going through elementary school and stuff. I got my first real taste of it when we moved up to Michigan. And it was strange because a lot of the kids were welcoming right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was obviously the other side to it, So we got picked on a little bit. There was a little bit of tension here and there, but we made friends right away. We made friends. So even if we got picked on, we had some beef with other people, we had people backing us up right away too.
I mean, you still had a sense of community, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was still a large gathering.
And, like, obviously I keep being Asian in the back of my mind, right? But I didn't have the mentality of I'm Asian, you're white, or you're this and you're different. The people I liked, I just liked. And the people that like me just like me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't constantly hover over the race issue.
Yeah.
But the strange one was when we moved from Michigan to Georgia. And that was weird, man.
Wow. So how old were you when you moved to Georgia?
Moved to Georgia 15 maybe.
How long did you live in Georgia?
For like 2 years.
Man.
So we lived there, and
for me, I would say that's a strange age to move to Georgia, being a teenager and not knowing anybody.
Yeah.
Because that's like deep South.
It was kind of harsh in the beginning because where we were, it was like 80% black, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, it took moving to Georgia for me to reconnect with my roots, you know? So when we moved there, we lived in a small little community, and I guess all the Hmong people kind of flocked together to that area too. And we had the sense of, whether it was real or not, we had the sense of like, stay together or die. You know what I mean? Right. So we really packed together, and I really finally got in touch with my roots, started speaking more of my language, hanging out with my people, and getting to understand what it was. So the people that were there, the kids that were there, they were the people who were probably rejected not rejected. What's the word? So a lot of my friends that were there were gangsters who couldn't be in California anymore because they had too much shit in California.
So they like exiled pretty much.
Yeah, that's more
they
like
made their exodus.
They were exiled. Georgia. So this great impressionable time in my life, right? 14, 15, 16, sometime in that age range. I was growing up with these guys who were kind of a bit older, and they've seen a lot more in life, and they've done a lot more in life. So they had this crazy influence on me, right? I just thought that, okay, to grow up, you have to be this crazy hardcore gangster,
Right.
right?
But that was, like you said, that's the atmosphere you're in. So, did you experience that solely or mostly in Georgia? Or, I mean, did you, like in all the cultural areas that you were in every state, was it a different feel as far as attitudes or the way people acted?
I think that it was roughly about the same.
Okay.
Although my interests were in different spots.
Okay.
So like in Michigan, I didn't have the Hmong community, right?
Right.
So it was just so if you took away the race and everything, then it was pretty much the same.
Okay.
Because in Michigan, all I cared about was hanging out with the friends that I had, whether they be white or whatever.
What was the majority of the friends that you had there? Were they mostly white people?
Yeah,
or?
they were mostly white
Okay.
kids. So
And then in Georgia, it was mostly black people that you're around and Hmong?
no, it was mostly Hmong people that I hung around with.
Okay.
So the other 80%, but if you take the ratio of the racism, the hate that we got, there's always going to be the assholes out there. For the most part, people don't really care. You know what I
Right.
mean? They look at you as a human being, and
Yeah.
they either like you or they don't like you, but it has nothing to do with race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's something, again, it all depends on where you're at too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you could have easily been around people that thought that all the time, and then you're the new guy. And,
Yeah.
they try to mask it or shield it.
And I think if my circumstances were different, I think I would have had a different experience there.
Right.
But as far as the treatment that I got would have still been the same, because
Right.
it was a really impressionable time in my life, and I was hanging out with gangsters. So naturally, you hover towards the gangster mentality.
Right.
You know what I mean? I remember one of my buddies, I don't want to mention his name, but there was several times that we had to run away because he started either shooting at people or he started pulling the gun out on people. And I mean, to me at that time, it was a little bit crazy, but at the same time, it was also something that made you feel kind of proud too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, difficult time. But I did have a couple other friends. So there was two guys that kind of stood out. That was more, I think they were more along my mentality naturally. But the core of the group, because everybody hung out together, the core of the group was exiled gangsters.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this really rough and tough mentality out there. And to a sense, you had to have that also just so that you don't get punked around.
You had to have some sort of street smarts, right?
Right. Well, not just street smart, but you had to have weight.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So when they come around, they try to push you, you got to be able to push back.
Right.
And if you're just at that time, if I was just stuck with a bunch of nerds,
You're going to get beat up.
yeah, maybe.
Shoved in a trash can.
Yeah. We would have been punked.
Yeah.
For sure, but having them around, it was a blessing sometimes. And at other times it was just a workout,
Right.
The funny thing is we didn't beef with black people all that much. Like at the beginning, they, just like everybody else. And I think it's a kid thing more than it is a race thing. You get all that, ooh, ching chong, this and all that, right?
Right.
And then as soon as they see that, oh, okay, well, these guys, they ain't backing down. You know what I mean? Like if we beef, we're going to beef with them for real. So they're
Right.
like, we'll find easier targets, But the strange thing is that we started beefing with the Koreans more than the blacks.
No shit.
Yeah. Yeah. After
What-
a while there.
Why do you think that is?
All right.
Is that just because you guys are both Asian, but it's like differences of opinions, difference of culture?
No. It all came down to pussy.
Oh, all right.
All
Well,
came down to pussy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I ain't lying, man. Korean chicks are hot, dude. They're hot. But it all started. I remember specifically the day that it started. One of my boys, we were all at a party. I
Mhm.
forget whose party or what party, if it was their party or our party. It was probably their party because we didn't throw nice parties like
Is
that.
this in Georgia?
This is in Georgia.
Okay.
So one of their chicks liked one of my boys, right? And she kept on dancing with him. And her boyfriend at the time wasn't having it. But like, what the fuck you gonna do?
I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. you know?
Well, but I remember,
depending on
man,
who you ask, I suppose.
I remember she was fucking hot, dude. Like I wanted a piece of that. But anyways, so she wouldn't leave him. And what's even more strange is that he's kind of tight with the Korean community. Like
Okay.
those are his boys. That
So he knew what he
Actually,
was getting into.
that was the in. He was the in to the party.
Okay.
So he was like, "Oh, we got to go to one of my boys' parties," and
He started pushing the boundary a little much.
I don't blame him.
Right. Okay.
I don't blame him because he's my age, so he was no more than 15,
Right.
and some hot ass chick wants to grind up on you. I ain't gonna say no,
Fuck no.
you know. So
Fuck no.
she was doing a thing, and I think he came and he pulled her away the first time. Then she came back, like
So she wanted it.
yeah,
If
she
you come back for more than once, if you let something go and it comes back, it must be meant to be. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So
she wanted that Hmong dick. So she came back, they started dancing again, and then he got into my boy's face, and then hell broke out after that. Like, I don't like Korean, they don't have the same mentality as the Hmong people. I don't know if you're familiar with the Korean social structure, but they have like a hierarchy, right?
okay.
And
So
like-
is it like almost like a caste system kind of?
Sort of. I mean, you definitely know where you rank.
Okay.
And I don't know it like all that great. I just know that there's rankings.
And it's established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the top dog has to call the shots, otherwise everybody else are sheep.
Right.
Something to that. I mean, like, I don't know. But with Hmong people, see, the Hmong people, we've recently just been removed from actual warfare. You know, like our parents came from a war-stricken country
Right.
and, you know, came to the country.
So
as
what
refugees.
year did, I'm sorry, I want to get back to the story, but what year did your parents come? Do you know?
Yeah, 75.
Okay, so yeah, you're talking within 40 years,
Yeah.
roughly, of still coming from a war-torn
Yeah.
area. Okay.
So, the mentality that Hmong people have is still like the jungle life,
Right.
you know, like kill or be killed.
Especially talking back then, even because
Right.
you're even that closer removed to the situation.
Yeah, and just the way that the parents raise the kids. We're the first generation born
Here.
in the U.S., and even the way that we were raised, even if they don't specifically say things, you know, you as a kid, you observe the way that your family behaves, and you pick up on certain cues and
Right.
stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so you get a whole group of like-minded people coming from that kind of background. It was like they didn't stand a chance, man. Like
Yeah.
they outnumbered us. I don't know about how many, because there was never more than 10, 12 of us. And there was always like 30 to 50 of them
Right.
everywhere we went. And this night was no different. But I remember specifically, that was the first time that I was in an actual fight. And I remember stopping to fight at one time, and there was this one guy that 5 of my boys were just beating up on. And this guy dropped like 5 times. They kept on picking him up. And they were doing stupid shit like Superman punches. 2 guys holding this guy up by his arms, and one guy going full tilt Superman punch right into this dude's face, man.
Look at his pretty shoes.
Exactly.
Get a shot of his pretty shoes.
So after that night, shots were fired, and there was nowhere that we could go that we didn't run into these fuckers. And the sad thing is that because of our mentality, they never once got the better of us. You know, there might have been a couple of us who might have got a little scrape here or there.
But if it comes down to it,
Yeah.
the groups, you definitely had the advantage when it came to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's that? The phrase, I'll paraphrase it. I'm not going to say it directly, quote it, but what is it? Would you rather have 100 farmers or 10 soldiers to fight with?
Right.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? I think I'd probably take the 10 soldiers over the 100 farmers. But
Yeah, but it was, you know, it was definitely, I wouldn't change anything about it, man. Because
Right.
I think it instilled in me a certain sense of, I wouldn't say fearlessness, but a little harder aspect
right.
about you. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, and you've got to, at some point, it's funny, right? Because just thinking about our kids, my kids, they don't grow up in a situation where they got to worry about having that edge in any scenario.
Right.
You know, them training jujitsu is defining that edge for them.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, you know, you experienced it in a complete different way. You had to learn it from, being in those situations or being around those people where you're in that wild situation.
Yeah, firsthand, man.
Yeah, right. And I mean, that same thing. We, definitely had some times in my life where we had that kind of shit go down, but it's crazy the way it is. I look at these kids nowadays, and I hope they never have to experience some of that shit. But with that being said, there's a lot to be learned
Exactly, man.
as a person about yourself, about who to trust, how to trust people.
Yeah.
That's a lot to be said. I guess touching on that idea of street smarts, right? Book smart and street smarts, they're both good, but they're both good for different reasons.
Exactly. Well, you have to be able to extract the good from every situation,
that's
anyways.
For sure.
And then coming from Georgia back to California, Northern California this time.
So when did you move back to California? 17 or so?
Yeah, right around there.
Okay.
Right around there. And then it was a real big eye opener for me. We moved right into another Hmong community.
Was it in the same area that you were from before?
No.
So, okay.
So I grew up in my youth in Southern California, and we moved back, and it was Northern California, up towards Sacramento area.
Okay. Nice, cooler weather.
Yeah. So I realized that you can't judge a book by its cover at that specific time in my life, because we moved right back into a Hmong community. And if you look at Hmong gangsters specific, there's a look to Hmong gangsters. Mm-hmm. It could be 2020, and they look like they're from the 90s. That's a Hmong gangster look, never changes. But they're not all equal.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that, and kind of touching, like you said, at that point, there is a hierarchy when it comes to that, right?
Well, not in a sense of hierarchy. I think there's a different breed.
Okay.
Because
there's your shot callers, and then there's your guys that are just there.
Right? I think, so in Georgia, I mean, we're pack, right? All Hmong communities are pack. Mm-hmm. And in a sense, you might have somebody who speaks more than others, but there's no like real shot caller. There's no like the leader. You know what I mean? Everybody just kind of moves together. And it was the same case in California, but I learned the hard way that there's a different types of hardness.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And silly me, I thought that my new boys in California were of the same breed as my old boys in Georgia. And that
different skin, huh?
There's a reason why those guys in Georgia are in Georgia and couldn't be anywhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The exiles,
Yeah. So, I mean, at the most impressionable time in my life, I grew up with some of the hardest guys that I've ever met in my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you have this image of what hardness is supposed to be. Not saying anything bad about my boys up in Northern California. They just weren't made of the same type of metal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And had a pretty bad experience at the tail end of my stay up there. Get into it, like the cliff notes of it. There was a couple of little brothers, my boys' little brothers, that came by, and they were running and they were huffing and puffing, saying that they were just down by the river and they had gotten chased.
Found a dead body. No, you guys want to see a dead body?
I don't know. I guess you can say that white supremacy was kind of prevalent up there. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I would think Northern California, you would see more of that backwoods redneck kind of atmosphere than you do in Southern California,
especially where we were living.
Okay,
because it was definitely a lower income city. Anyways, they come running. They're like, "Oh man, we just got chased by white power, and they were gonna beat us up and stuff." So, and we had been drinking all afternoon already, and I was like, "How many are there?" And they were like, "Oh, there's like 10 of them." So I look around and I'm like, oh shit, guess what? There's about 10 of us. So
perfect. Let's dance.
Let's go handle this. And we went, and I had this thing like from the way that we handled things back in Georgia. Like I was never worried because I always knew somebody was gonna have my back.
Right.
Like I didn't know who, but I just know that when shit goes down, everybody had everybody else's back.
When the head drops,
Right.
you had somebody there.
And I was this skinny, cocky kid, anyways. So I made it a point to go after the big guy because I was like, well, no matter what happens, somebody's gonna, pry him off of me, anyways.
Right.
You know. And with the second effect is if you take out the big guy, then the little guys get scared and they usually leave you alone. So we went there. Sure enough, there was about 10 of them out playing by the water. And we're like, hey, man, what the fuck, dude? You messing with our boys? And they were like, oh, yeah, you guys want some? So they started coming towards us. We started going towards them. And then before you know, because they had their trucks all lined up, right? White boys in their trucks. There was about 8, 9 trucks out there. You see all the doors pop open and 20 more guys jump out.
Yep.
So now it's not 10 on 10. Now it's more like 10 on 30.
Right.
So I was like, all right,
Here we go.
time to do it, right? So I started going. I took a couple strides forward and I looked back and my boys are running away. So I was like, man, what the fuck, dude? So I was like, all right, fuck it. Me alone, I can't take on 30. I'll do 10 on 30 if I have real boys behind me,
At that point, you're going to take a licking. You
Right.
know what I mean?
So I was like, fuck it. So I turned around and I started running and I was still in relatively good shape back then. So I outran all those fuckers. And then I heard one of my boys got caught. He was like, oh, fuck, they got me. So I was like, too late now. So I turned around and I was eyeing for the big guy. And I went for the big guy. But right before I got to him, I took a swipe at the guy that was trying to run past me, right? Before I knew it, I turned around and the big guy was right in front of me. And he did some kind of rear naked choke thing, but without choking me. He just kind of scooped me by the neck and he sat down. And then I was trying to punch him behind my head. And
he was kind of just telling you to calm down pretty much at that point.
No, he was fucking me up.
Was he fucking you up?
He was fucking me up. He was fucking me up and I was trying to fuck him up. And then 2 more guys came to help him out. And so 3 guys was fucking me up. And next thing I know, I was face down in the sand.
Man, that's shitty. That's a shitty situation. That's funny that fight that you're just talking about. I remember me and several of my friends, same thing. We had an incident similar. I mean, it was same thing. We thought it would be a fair fight. Backstory for our situation was all over weed, so this dumbass that we knew was supposed to come through and he ended up this fucking idiot. He fucking rear-ended some lady, literally right down the street from my friend's house. Okay.
Because he was high?
Yeah. No, he was just a dumbass. He was just an idiot. And these guys that I'm talking about, they were like meth head crankers, you know what I mean? So it was this particular situation, it wasn't the normal thing that we would do, you know what I mean? But it just happened to be that's what we could get.
Right.
Situation. So, he's meeting us at our friend's house, and we're literally he's literally 3 minutes away. We can see the house, and he fucks around, rear ends this chick. And when he rear ends the chick, he's got, I think he had a QP that we were getting.
Mm-hmm.
So he fucking threw it, right? He just threw it out into the field that's literally 3 minutes away from the house that we're at, waiting for that same amount.
Wow.
And so he throws it.
How far can it go?
He was just trying to get it out just so, because he was kind of avoiding cops at the time.
Okay.
So he ended up getting arrested over this whole situation, but he didn't want the weed on him, obviously. So he tossed it. I wasn't there when tossing happened. Anyways, what happened was, as this all goes down, we end up getting the word. My buddy that was following him, it was actually on our way to his house. So he was following him. He saw it happen. He saw the weed get tossed. He saw that. So he drove home. Well, we're all chilling. And we waited as it cleared up and everybody left. We went back and just grabbed it. That's what you do. Yeah, you know what I mean? So we went and grabbed it.
Score!
Exactly. And so So we went and grabbed it. We told him, or we didn't tell him. We said we went back and we couldn't find it.
Oh.
Of course, you know what I mean? Like, well, it was partially our faults, partially not. I blame the dude getting in the wreck for the whole situation going down. It's
That
not,
bitch took it.
yeah,
the bitch you hit took it.
The bitch you hit took it. She was like, "Fuck this dude.
That's my payment.
That's my weed." So, anyways, we took it. We're back at the house now. We're enjoying ourselves because now we got the money and the product. You know what I mean? So this guy, like, no, I guess he didn't go to jail. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he had to leave. He had to leave the scene, get away. You know what I mean? We ended up talking to him. It was like that night or the next day. And it was one of those things where, like, yo, man, we couldn't find it. I don't know what happened to it. But, of course, we had it the whole time. So this guy gets pissed because, you know, we're trying to not pay him. And so it ends up words start getting exchanged between the two groups, you know. Fuck you guys. And so we're like, all right, we'll just, here, you know, we want to settle this. Here, we'll meet over here. We'll meet in a certain area. We can settle this shit. No problem. You know, you bring your group, we'll bring our group. Same kind of thing, man. We even said, we're like, no weapons, nothing like that. Fuck that shit, right? So there's about 10 of us, and we thought the same thing. We thought it was only about 10 of them. And as we, like, right before we start walking up to go meet and actually get this shit settled, I look around and I'm like, yo, do you think we should probably take something with us just in case? And one of my friends is like, nah, man. And another one of my friends is like, I don't know. And I had a fucking taser and I had a baseball bat in my car. So we grabbed the baseball bat and we grabbed the taser. And we're like, well, at least we have something just in case all this shit goes down. So we go there, and that's literally any kind of weapons that we had. And there's about, like I said, 10 of us. We walk up and there's a group coming towards us, and it's about 10 of them. And we know pretty much every single fucking one of these people. So one of them comes up, and then, like, my buddy walks up to him. So it's pretty much, there's like 3 of us in front of everybody else. And then there's like 1 of them or 2 of them in front of the rest of their group on the other side. So it's kind of like that meeting in the middle, you know, like, yeah. What the fuck, do you really want to do this, you know? And they're like cussing us out or whatever. And one of my best friends, literally, he's standing, I mean, closer than you are to me right now. He's to my right. And he's like, look, man, he's like, we don't have to do this, but if you want to do it, let's do it. You know, it is what it is. So we're like, yeah, it is what it is. And the dude had a lead pipe behind his back. So right as my buddy said, it is what it is, he fucking pulled it out and cracked him across the head. And fucking, this is how the fight starts. He gets cracked across the head. So my buddy Steve-O starts stumbling off and he disappears. Boom, gone. He's out of the fight from the very beginning. And he's like our one dude that I know, this dude's gonna fuck up at least 4 or 5 of these guys. You know what I mean? And first fucking shot. Yeah, no, he wasn't a big guy. He was a little guy, but he was a wrestler. Yeah. He worked out every fucking day. He was like 100 pounds soaking wet, all muscle.
Wow.
And I mean, I've got other stories about watching him get in fights. And even with him and another one of our best friends, when we lived together, he got in a fight with my other roommate. Anyways, but so this whole thing goes down. He gets cracked in the head and he's gone. And I mean, I'm literally like right next to him when it happens. So I see that shit and I'm like, oh shit, they got weapons.
Wow.
And every single one of those motherfuckers then pulls out something out from behind their back. And then we look over. Camera dead?
Camera dead again.
Oh, that's all right.
That one's still going.
Yep. So we look over and then they've got 10 more people, or I don't know how many more people coming from the little ditch.
Oh, shit.
That was like kind of across the street where we couldn't really see. So then all these other people run over. So now it's like a fucking chaos. So like, you know, people are getting separated in different directions. And one of my buddies, so I gave my one buddy my taser. And I honestly don't know who had the bat. I don't know what happened to the bat. I don't even know if it got used. My buddy with the taser starts chasing after the dude that hits my friend with the lead pipe. So he catches him. He chases him down. They're fucking scrapping. He hits him with the taser. You hear this guy like, get him off me. like the funniest shit. That part was pretty funny. But Yeah, I mean, wherever in the neck or whatever the fuck it was, but you could hear a guy off in the distance, "Get off, man," which is great. However, as things were getting separated, it's kind of like you were saying, the dude that was getting picked up and punched, repeatedly. We get a guy like that. So this one guy gets singled out, and there's probably like 5 of us. And I mean, we're just stomping the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was where I was at this point, because I backed up after the initial headshot, and everything's like, oh fuck, So we're smashing this dude. I look over, and my one buddy, this dude has like a pool cue.
Yeah.
And he fucking cracks him across the jaw and breaks his jaw.
Oh shit.
And then he hits the ground and he cracks him in the back of the head.
Oh shit.
So he's down and he's out. And then shit's still meleeing, and then time goes by. It seems like forever, but it's also not very long.
Not like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's and it's just like, I mean, 5 minutes of this shit is, I didn't get hurt. I didn't get hit. Several people did get hurt and get hit, but anyways, things end up where like their group starts kind of backing off, and we're kind of like making a push forward, and our whole goal is like because our one boy that had the taser, he's at the back line of their group.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's pretty much by himself.
Oh shit.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So he's like over there fucking fighting some.
You
dude,
want some?
Tasering people, like, come get some. You know what I mean? So we're trying to make our ways towards him. The main dude, the kid that fucking ended up getting the wreck and that really started all of it, that fucking pussy, he had a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And he was standing there holding the gun so everybody could see it. When all the shit went down, he fucking ran. Boom. All the way to the very back. Like past his whole group, all the way back. He was nowhere to be seen pretty much for this whole situation.
Wow.
But bottom line is, aftermath, I mean, nothing really got resolved. We kept the weed though. So we got ours out of the whole thing.
Yeah.
However, my one buddy ended up with a concussion, and he was a wrestler, and he couldn't wrestle for high school like the rest of that year.
Damn.
So fucked his wrestling up, and he was like a senior at that time.
Yeah.
So that really fucked him up because he had wrestled his whole life. I mean, he lived in Germany. His parents were military, or his dad was military.
Shit.
So he grew up, traveling and stuff, but everywhere he went, he wrestled. That was always his sport. Yeah, he was a wrestler. And fucked that up. And then my other buddy, like I was saying, the buddy whose house we were at,
Mhm.
and where the fight went down the street from his house, he ended up with a concussion from getting smacked in the back of the head. He ended up with a broken jaw, had his shit wired shut for 6 weeks or whatever.
So your buddy, the wrestler, did he just kind of move away from the scene after that?
No,
Did he
I mean,
hold it
so
anything?
like he was, that pretty much was the same transition for all of us. So I mean, for me, I was playing at that time mostly just hockey. I had pretty much stopped playing baseball. I was playing hockey. He wrestled, and then the one that got his jaw broken, he played hockey as well. But when all that went down, that was the same time we started all kind of transitioning.
Yeah.
So I went from more like sports to more partying. So, I mean, it kind of, I look back at it, and honestly, man, that kind of fucked up a couple people's shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd say,
Because
shit.
he could have easily, no doubt in my mind, he probably could have easily been wrestling on a scholarship somewhere, and,
Did he hold that against anybody though?
no, and he still doesn't. But I mean, looking back at it, it's a shitty, uncompromising, unfortunate situation. And he was in the Navy after that, and lived in San Diego and stuff. But he could always have done more than what he actually did. You know what I mean? And I mean, I'm not going to say he still has a great life,
Right?
But it's just one of those things. And it's unfortunate that it happens the way it does,
So now, looking back on all the crazy shit that we went through,
God.
would you rather have that life, or would you want a more sheltered, more secure life like our kids have these days?
Yeah, and see, that's touching on that, going back to that, man, fuck. I tell you what, I wouldn't be who I am today
Yeah,
if it wasn't for all the shit that I went through.
exactly.
Good, bad, ugly, however you want to put it. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be sitting here. We wouldn't be talking. I feel, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's the life life is full of all these little choices or little paths, right? And you never know if you do one or you take one, you never know what's going to change or what's going to happen.
Well, it's about the experiences too,
Mhm.
right? And I think that because of that kind of background that we have, it kind of helps us out in times like this. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
For sure.
Like, we've been through some real shit, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that Corona isn't some real shit, but had Corona happened in the 90s, it wouldn't have got the same treatment, man.
No, well, and would it have been worse, do you think? Do you think it would have been what it's doing now? Now, let's not say the hysteria, right?
Right.
Because the panic, the hysteria nowadays.
If you look at the early 90s with the internet, it would be nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. So if you look at, you get past the fucking internet, you get past social media, you get past all that shit. Do we really have this quote unquote big issue? You know what I mean? 'Cause,
Right.
like if it's in the 90s, like you said, man, I don't feel like it would have gotten the same play. With that being said, though, advancement in science and advancement in medicine and the fact that people can't hear about it the same way we do now,
Mm-hmm.
does it spread worse?
It would have taken a lot
I mean,
longer
right?
back then.
Because it would have, we wouldn't have known about it the same way we do now on Facebook,
Right.
on YouTube, on whatever the fuck social media you want to go to.
Yeah.
So, you look at like 96, 97, which was a fucking phenomenal, awesome time, right? Like I think like looking at or I guess like 98, right? Being like when I was 16,
Mm-hmm.
dude, that was such a great year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Our president, all he wanted to do was get some pussy.
I mean, he was fucking bitches with cigars and gas was under $1.
yeah, man.
You know what I mean? God, that's something I miss. I miss being able to go to, and actually, we're not too far off right now, but
Nope.
I remember being able to go to the grocery store. You could get I could get like $3 or 3 gallons of gas for less than $3. I could get a Dr. Pepper and it was like $5.
Pack of smokes was under $2.
Exactly. You know what I mean? You could get a pack of smokes, 3 gallons of gas, and a Dr. Pepper for under $10. You know what I mean?
Good
What the
times,
fuck?
man.
That was,
Good times.
dude, especially like being a kid when you just did whatever. you
Right,
know?
man.
I mean, but it's getting back to what you're saying. I wouldn't change it. You know what I mean? I'm glad I went through what I did to get to this point.
Why do you think that we feel the need to shelter our kids from that shit, though?
Man,
You know what I mean? Like, you can see the benefits that it gave to you, but you don't want to give your kids the same benefit?
well, but coming down to that too, though, is now part of that for me is it comes down to the social media and shit. I mean, like, everybody's a fucking third voice. You know what I mean? Everybody's a better parent than you on social media. You know what I mean? That kind of attitude.
Right.
Like, no matter what I do, what you do, it's almost a point now. It seems like contention. Like, same thing. I don't feel safe if I just let my kids even play in the front yard
Right.
by themselves. You know what I mean? And when I grew up, dude, it was fucking come home when the streetlights come on. You know, and we
Mhm.
don't. It's just the mentality is different now. Other people around us, I think, makes the majority for me so much different.
Yeah.
Because you got to deal with people that will look for any reason to maybe get upset or call it to attention.
Do you
know?
think it's any more dangerous now or any less dangerous now than it was when we were growing up?
I think it's more dangerous in the sense that as you keep adding people to the equation as you go along, the ratio and the percentage of those bad apples is going to go higher.
So just by population density alone.
But not. I don't think it's just off of that. I think that's a part of it. But then same thing. You look at people. I don't want to say like copycat. You know what I mean? But you look at people and they hear it or they see it easier. And the people that have those thoughts or that they've thought about it or they have that mental issue, the more that they can see it or hear it, it's kind of like that implanting in the back of the head. You know what I mean? And I think that's a situation that the problem will continually get worse, especially the more you talk about it, because it's just more brought up. It's a psychological issue as well. The more you talk about something, the chances are the more it can happen. You know what I mean? And I felt this. So when was like the John Brown stuff, hands up, don't shoot, that kind of shit. When we had that little string of like cops just shooting people randomly, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's bad, but I started thinking about it. It got so escalated at a point because all you could see or hear was nothing but cops shooting people. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was the main story. So from a psychological level, you start thinking about it, and those little things get implanted in people's heads. We think about it. I mean, you know, everybody thinks about it. If you start getting out there, you start thinking about it more. I mean, if you're joking about it, or if you're actually talking about it, addressing an issue, whatever the fuck, you have it in your head somehow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but corrupt cops have been killing people since day one.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is from a psychological level, you start putting that implant out there more, the chances of it happening more are there, based off the fact that it's going to be implanted in somebody's head. Whether or not he wanted to pull the trigger at the time, there's a psyche or a psychological trigger that connects these shootings with the people that they're trying to protect other people from. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's good. I'm definitely not saying it's good. I'm just saying from the side, same thing with social media and everything else. The more we bring it up, the more you talk about it, the more you make it an issue, that issue will always get worse. You know,
Right.
There's going to be more people that are going to go out and do it. And there's people that think they're going to get fame from doing shit like this. And that's the ridiculous side, right? It's not that there's necessarily, I mean, the people that want to go do a school shooting, they're fucking crazy, right?
Yeah.
But think about like Columbine,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then after that happened, what if that would have happened during social media times? It would just be another day in the life of right now. You know what I mean? If you look at it. But from that, it starts stemming more and more. And now we get to a point, well, not now because of schools being out, but up even till last year, school shootings have gotten so common that it's almost not talked about sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's only because, in my eyes, like it's a combination of population growth and the combination of it's just more of a norm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like sex trafficking or kids being kidnapped.
Yeah.
You know, I think that happens more now than it did when we were kids.
You think so?
I think so.
Oh yeah.
Way more. But that's also population and the
Yeah.
fact that it's such a, I mean,
I think, like you said, the numbers increase, the instances increase because there's just more people now.
yeah.
I think that the world crime and all the negative aspects of society are fundamentally the same. Just the instances have occurred more because there's more of us, like you said.
Right.
But here's the difference. When it happened when we were growing up, we were tougher people. And so it didn't have that much of an impact. You know what I mean? Where now society has gotten a little bit softer. And as soon as
How long is it? Sorry, go ahead.
soon as something happens, everybody's like up in arms about it. Like, oh my God, like this has never happened before. No, it's always happened.
Right.
But the way your mental outtake on things, you know what I mean?
Oh shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So I'll touch
Yeah.
on this really. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. And it's just weird, man. And that's where I think too, like the longer and the more things happen or the more you talk about it, the more you see it in a normalized news cycle or a normalized conversational cycle, a normalized social media subject, more hashtags about it, that kind of shit. It brings it to the forefront even more. And that's also going to allow it to be one of those things where people are going to run with it or people are going to act off of it and try to be the next best thing off of it. You know what I mean? Everybody,
Right.
you know, especially in stuff like sick, fucking weird, violent shit. A lot of times it's the one-upping that, you know, that, and I mean, I've never done a school shooting or anything,
Right.
but you know what I mean? It always seems like there's that guy that he wants that bit of fame or he wants that recognition. It's
Yeah.
almost like he's trying to one up the last guy, you know?
Yeah, that's a challenge I want to stay out of, man.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that I'll never want to be a part of. But point being is, yeah, I mean, I just think, you know, nowadays it's harder for us, come back to the kids, it's harder for us to allow our kids to enjoy the same stuff or the same freedom that we did. And fuck, man, if we had social media when we were kids, or when I was doing half the shit that I did, I would have been in jail multiple times, and I wouldn't be sitting here. You know what I mean? And that's just the fucking pure bottom line. And you know, we'll definitely get into more of these stories along the way.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But yeah, man, that was a fucking hour.
Yeah, that was a good trip down memory lane, man.
Yeah,
I liked it. I enjoyed it.
And that, you know, I had some more questions too that I wanted to get. It just started piquing more questions that I wanted to ask you about that shit, about your past. But
we'll save that for the next session.
We'll save that for some other time, man. It'll all come out.
Sweet.
Well, all right, brother, man. It's been a good session, and good to talk to you as always.
Yeah, same here, bro.
And all right, fellas, and everybody listening, thanks a lot for listening, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Tomato cans.
Tomato cans. Peace.